Walsingham sits in the midst of lush and fertile Norfolk countryside, just 4 miles in from the glorious North Norfolk coast, directly south of Wells next to the sea. Historical records of the village go back to Saxon times when the village was first established on the banks of the River Stiffkey. It's listed in the Domesday Book under the name of Walsingham Parva. Today it incorporates both Little and Great Walsingham, together representing a population of about 800 people.
It is a delightful village to visit and holds a unique place in history as the premier destination for pilgrimages in England. In its height, medieval times, it rivaled, in fact, was probably greater than Canterbury in the great shrines of Europe. Most of the kings and queens of England visited here. Henry III came 12 times. Henry VIII even came twice before he changed his mind in 1534. Today, that population of 800 is boosted annually by around 300,000 visitors who flock to the village to see not only the 2 shrines, but also to get a sense of the peace and tranquility here.
The garden and grounds surrounding Walsingham Abbey are famous for the spectacular ruins of the medieval priory. These are the ruins of the Augustinian Priory of the Annunciation of the Blessed Virgin Mary, one of the premier shrines to Our Lady in England, up to its dissolution in 1538. The priory, founded around about 1153, was adjacent to this site where the original holy house, known as England's Nazareth, was built. Little remains of the original buildings, which were altered in the 13th and 14th centuries, but the most striking feature is the magnificent east window, which gives some indication of the size and importance of the Priory Church, which was 244 foot long with both central and western towers.
In 1538, Walsingham's principal trade came to an abrupt end. The friary and the priory were dissolved and all of the property handed over to the King's Commissioners. The famous statue of Our Lady of Walsingham was taken to London to be publicly burnt. Today, nothing remains of the original shrine, and for the next 380 years, the pilgrims stayed away.
By the late 1920s, interest in restoration of pilgrimage to Walsingham as a regular feature of Christian life had been ignited, and within a few years there was both an Anglican and a Roman Catholic shrine. The Roman Catholic National Shrine is today found at the Slipper Chapel, a mile south of the village. Built in 1325, the chapel was the last and most important of the wayside chapels that pilgrims would stop at on the numerous routes to the pre-Reformation shrine next to the priory. Pilgrims stopped here to go to Mass and confess their sins, before slipping off their shoes and walking the final holy mile to the Holy House in Walsingham. The chapel is dedicated to St. Catherine, the patron saint of pilgrims.
The key to pilgrimage is that something has happened here. A saint has lived here, an historical moment happened here, an apparition happened here. And so in Nazareth it kind of sets the tone, because it explains the key to pilgrimage is that you're going to a place where something happened. Just the second fact for us at Walsingham is that at the wall at the back is an image of every single Marian shrine in the world. Now this is in Nazareth at the House of the Annunciation, and the first shrine represented is Walsingham. So Walsingham is of enormous significance. For here at Walsingham, it's an event a long time ago, over 950 years ago, in 1061. Now, was it an apparition? We don't know, but we do know the story of Richeldis, who certainly had this great encounter with Our Lady. Whatever way, we don't know, but it came to that point where Our Lady asked Richeldis, who, as we understand, was the lady of the manor, to build a house in honour of, as she said, her salutation. And that's the old English word for annunciation. So she wanted a house built as a replica of the house where she lived as a young girl where the Annunciation happened, where the angel appeared to her to inform her that she would become the Mother of God.
Now, I won't ask you to name a favourite pilgrimage that you have, but is there a particular aspect of the pilgrimages that you enjoy the most?
It's the diversity of people who come here, which is, I think, is the best part of it.
As well as the shrine, there is a large chapel of reconciliation where most services take place.
The slipper chapel is quite exquisite inside, but clearly you can't get large pilgrimages. So here in the gardens of the Chapel of Reconciliation, you've got the possibility of either having a smaller community inside, or in fact you can open up the wonderful glass doors, can't you, and greet here in the garden.
Indeed. Our biggest pilgrimage is 14,000. Now, we can't get 14,000 on this site, as you can imagine. We have the big pilgrimages out here, and that really is a sight for sore eyes. We have about 8,000 people here for and they come from all over the country for that, and that's a wonderful occasion. And so we need outside. Obviously, our slipper chapel is the heart of the shrine. That's where the shrine has its very heart. Our facilities here we can take large numbers of people.
Well, thank you for allowing us to come and talk to you today. I appreciate that very much, and I'll let you get on with your day, because I'm sure you're exceedingly busy. But Father John, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, my pleasure.
The Anglican Shrine occupies an island site in Walsingham, close to the ruins of the original medieval priory. The present-day shrine was gradually created in 1931 from derelict farm buildings and cottages, with a brand new shrine church in the southeast corner of the site. At its heart is the Holy House, a replica of the house in Nazareth, where Mary heard from the angel Gabriel that she was to be the mother of Jesus. A new visitor centre, completed in 2009, introduces visitors to the story of the shrine.
Well, it's very good to welcome you to Walsingham and good to welcome you to the Anglican Shrine.
Well, thank you very much indeed. I'm delighted to be here in the beautiful gardens that you've got here. And of course the gardens do play quite an important part of any pilgrimage, don't they?
Yeah, they're fantastic, and they're a really lovely place for pilgrims just to stop and think and reflect. Quite often the pilgrims who come here are from busy urban parishes, and so the tranquility of this space is a really important part of just stepping away from the busyness of daily life.
And in fact, it's so peaceful here in the gardens, and yet hundreds of thousands of people come to visit Walsingham every year, and yet on a day like today we've got, well, obviously glorious weather, but real peace here as well.
Yeah, it is. It's a very tranquil spot.
And I understand you've got quite a strong education department here, great involvement with the local schools and the community.
That's right, yeah. Because Walsingham is such a fascinating place in terms of history and in terms of Christian practice, it makes it an ideal place for schools to come and learn and to discover a bit more about what Christianity is about and about what pilgrimage is about, because pilgrimage is now part of the GCSE syllabus. So we're kind of ideally placed to help schools and to help children and young people just to think about what that means for Christians and how it's an important part of faith and practice today.
It is worth noting that the two shrines are not the only ecclesiastical buildings in the two villages that make up Walsingham. St Mary's and All Saints' Church houses a fine 7-sacrament font similar to the one we saw at Binham. There is also St Peter's Church, the Roman Catholic parish church of the Annunciation, the Methodist Church and the Greek Orthodox Chapel of the Holy Transfiguration in Great Walsingham, and the Russian Orthodox Chapel of St Seraphim, created in 1967 out of the old railway station booking hall and ticket office.
Clearly Walsingham played an important part of everyone's lives prior to the Reformation. Pilgrims flocked to the shrine, to the site so closely linked to the life of Jesus, at a time when it was impossible to travel to the Holy Land because it was too expensive, too dangerous. Then came the Reformation. No pilgrimages, no pilgrims. And from that slow trickle of pilgrims in the 1920s to the hundreds of thousands that visit here annually every year, they've been doing exactly what pilgrims have been doing for 900 years, coming to Walsingham in search of God. They join together in worship, light a candle, take part in a procession, share of the holy water from the well. Here they find peace and an assurance of God's presence in their lives. There's been riots, revolts and Kett's rebellion, the dissolution of the Priory in 1538, Puritans pillaging during the Civil War, and throughout most of the building, the 3 R's: restoration, rebuilding and renovation.
For the first 450 years of its existence, Norwich Cathedral was also a Benedictine monastery, and whilst there are no longer monks here, the ethos of this tradition is a continuing influence on cathedral life.